StudyIQ IAS English channel. My name is Shubham Sagar. Today we have to talk about lecture 28 in this crash course for UPSC Pre 2025, and this particular lecture is about Bengal Part 2 and Awadh. So in the previous lecture we have talked about advent of Europeans, and that was part 2, and we have started talking about Bengal and how Bengal is the epicenter. You know, we talk about Bengal Renaissance. So, and like Jadunath Sarkar sir says that after Battle of Plassey, modern India arrived, or modernity arrived in India 1757 onwards. So we have talked about Battle of Plassey in the previous lecture. That was part 1. We have talked about the different quotations which we have to remember from both pre and mains perspective, but more so from the pre perspective, which kind of questions can be framed. Now we have to go to the second part of the Bengal part. That is, what happened after Battle of Plassey? What happened after 1757? Mir Zafar, Mir Qasim, then again Mir Zafar, then what? What is this dual government? Was this dual government just in name, or was it like it's just a sham? What is it actually? You know, so we have to talk about a lot of things. How Awadh is coming into this like whole arena. See, when we'll talk about 1857 revolt, you will see that 1857 revolt mainly revolves around Awadh, because Awadh was the nursery of, you know, British army per se. Most of the British army, a major component of British army came from Awadh. So we'll talk about Awadh, how Awadh is an integral part of what we are going to study now, Battle of Buxar, and so many other things as well. And then we will do some revision also when we are reading about Awadh, and you will see a similarity between formation of this dynasty in Awadh and formation of a particular dynasty in Hyderabad, Nizamul Mulk. You know, there are different things which we have to discuss, different things which we have to correlate. Fine. So rise of British supremacy, Battle of Buxar, Battle of Plassey we have discussed. Now we will go from 1757 to 1764, and there are so many things which we have to keep in mind, because as you can see, or if you have seen the pattern of UPSC Pre, you will realize UPSC is looking into unexplored area, especially of, you know, history portion. So here also this particular portion is very important, and so many things are happening. Like when we were talking about Murshid Quli Khan, who established this Bengal dynasty in 1717, at that particular point of time we saw that he shifted the capital from Dhaka to Murshidabad. Now the capital will be shifted from Murshidabad to Munger. Why that will happen, we have to see. And now means after Battle of Plassey has happened, Mir Zafar, initially he was a, you know, he loved Britishers, Britishers loved him, and Britishers installed him. He was the commander-in-chief, but things will not be hunky-dory, because if you start betraying once, people will not be so, you know, trustworthy. People will not be feeling so much, you know, trust upon you, and there will always be that hesitancy which will be there in the mind of the other people, that, you know, once a betrayer, always a betrayer. We'll talk about that. So Mir Zafar 1757 to 1760, he has, you know, he will start facing certain problems because Britishers have installed him, and more so means EIC, they have installed him, English East India Company, and now they will want something. They will want him to pay certain amount every year or every month, and we have to see that. And he will not be able to pay after a certain point. And then Britishers will be like, dude, you are not able to pay us the amount which was due, so we have to, you know, get rid of you, and they will do exactly that. So immediately, and here Dutch will also come into picture. When Mir Zafar will realize that things are not happening the way they should happen, you know, or they should. So in this scenario, what he will do is he will try to take the help of Dutch. And in 1759, there will be a battle which will be fought, which is known as Battle of Bidara. Fine. So immediately after his succession, Mir Zafar began to face some serious problems. Some zamindars refused to accept Mir Zafar as their ruler, because again they are not trusting him. Many people started believing that he was the one who was responsible for the death of, you know, Sirajuddaulah, and he actually was. So they were not, you know, all those doubts which these people have there in their mind, that was not unfounded. Mir Zafar also suspected the loyalty of some of his soldiers who had not been receiving their regular salary. If you don't give regular salary anywhere, people will be less, you know, trustworthy and less, you know, obedient towards you. Salary is a very important component anywhere and everywhere, as well as that of his officials. Like, right, again, you don't have to do PhD here, just understand the theory, what is happening. Mir Zafar is dependent on company. Company wants money from Mir Zafar. Mir Zafar will not be able to pay beyond a certain point. Company will start not liking him, and it's not like Mir Zafar is not able to pay him only, or the company only. They are not. He is also not able to pay his soldiers the required salary, etc. So discontent rather is growing on, and we have to talk about that. So Mir Zafar's growing dependence on the company for military support was used by the company to demand more finances and other privileges from the Nawab. But the Nawab failed to meet the growing demand, and we will see what will happen now. And then again, there are certain things. We have talked about Dutch earlier also, how they were more interested in Indonesia, Amboina massacre. And after this whole thing where Dutch will try to play a role because they feel like there is a chance here, they can take advantage of this particular situation, although they won't be. And then there will be a final departure of Dutch from India after this Battle of Bidara of 1759. So Mir Zafar, who had played the role of Clive's jackal, so whatever Clive used to say, he used to follow it obediently rather, soon began to repent the deal he had struck, and in order to shed off the British yoke, he began intriguing with, he started talking with the Dutch people, and Britishers are not liking it. Later on, you will see the same thing. The Dutch will be replaced by French, not even later. In between, only from 1740 onwards, you will see French start playing a crucial role in Indian politics, especially in the southern India, and Britishers will not like it. Here also, Britishers will not like and it's very similar here. But the difference is Dutch are not as powerful as French are when it comes to Indian territories. Clive, however, thwarted this design by defeating Dutch in decisive Battle of Bidara. This particular battle was fought in 1759, if I'm not wrong. But by now, the English company had grown considerably suspicious of the Nawab and had begun to look for a suitable replacement. And there were two replacements. See, his son has died. So there was another replacement, the grandson of Mir Zafar. And then there was another replacement that was son-in-law of Mir Zafar, Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim gave so many promises like to, East India Company that I will give you this and that and this and that. So East India Company decided that, okay, Mir Qasim, son-in-law of Mir Zafar, will become the new Nawab. So we'll talk about this. Once a traitor, always a traitor. Mir Zafar was a traitor, and now nobody is believing this particular traitor with due respect to Mir Zafar. Mir Zafar 1757 to 60. From the company's perspective, its role has considerably changed. It's no longer only a commercial power, It's a commercial, military, political power. So in order to fund its new responsibilities, and upon finding that Nawab was unable to pay the stipulated payments, by 1760, you can see how much they had to pay. 25 lakhs in those times. If you do the current, calculation, what is the value of this 25 lakhs in present times? That would be a huge number. The company lost its confidence in Mir Zafar, and they were like, dude, and EIC, this is EIC, and they're like, dude, we want our money, please give us our money. Mir Zafar, June 1757 to October 1760. Now we are talking about, and we have already discussed this thing, there are two major players who can succeed, or who will be the successor, or who could be the successor of Mir Zafar. One is Mira, the son of Mir Zafar. He is dead. He's no more. So he cannot be the successor. But the grandson part, which we have discussed earlier, the conflict, or who will be the successor? Mira's grandson and, or Mir Zafar's grandson, or Mira's son, and Mir Qasim, the son-in-law of Mir Zafar. And in this particular, the war of succession, it's not exactly a war, because Britishers or EIC is basically deciding who will be the successor of Mir Zafar. You will see that Mir Qasim wins because he promises a lot of stuff, and so that is what is being written here. Mir Zafar was ultimately forced to abdicate in favor of his son-in-law, Mir Qasim. In this way, Mir Zafar reaped what he showed, and betrayal in return of betrayal. So again, that's why there is a saying which we keep on saying, that is, karma bites, and we have to take care of our karma. And just like Jainism says, if you want to get rid of your karma, you have to practice extreme penance, or maybe this was a way by which Zafar will pay. This was a way by which Zafar will pay. Cool. So Mir Qasim 1760 to 63. So we were talking about the shifting of capital which will be happening. So earlier, the capital of Bengal presidency, or Bengal region rather, was Dhaka. Then Murshid Quli Khan shifted it to Murshidabad. And then now Mir Qasim will shift it to Munger, because he felt like all these people who are doing the intrigues, they are there in Murshidabad, because that has become the new center of Bengal. So he will shift it to Munger. And this is important from exam perspective. You have to remember who shifted the capital from Dhaka to Murshidabad. That is easy to remember because Murshid Quli Khan, Murshidabad, same but different. But here from Murshidabad to Munger, who was he? Was he Mir Zafar or Mir Qasim? You can get confused. He was Mir Qasim, and Mir Qasim came to throne, or he became the Nawab by saying this to EIC, that I will ensure that you don't have any dearth of money. So Mir Qasim rewarded his benefactors by granting the company the zamindari of Burdwan, Midnapur and Chittagong. He also promised to give the company half of the share in trade of Sylhet region, which is currently in Bangladesh. First few months of Mir Qasim reign went very well. First few months in anything, in your job, in this and that, they are always the honeymoon period. But soon the relationship with the British embittered due to several reasons. And what were those reasons? Again, nobody will like too much interference, If they keep on interfering one way or the other, nobody would like that. And that is the same thing which happened here. And plus, he was a able and efficient ruler, as you can see here. We are talking about Mir Qasim, and he is not liking the amount of interference which he is seeing from EIC. And there is no end to the greed of EIC. So all these things will complicate matter between Mir Qasim and EIC. So Mir Qasim belied English hope. He was an able and efficient ruler and wanted to free himself from foreign control. And one thing which will again become a bone of contention between we Indians and the Britishers or the EIC is that Dastak system, the pass system, and the dispute or that whole thing has started from the Farooq Siyar 1717 Farman, and you will see that again that issue will come to the fore, and Mir Qasim will be like, our Indian travelers or merchants, they are at an disadvantage compared to European and EIC merchants, because they are having these dastak and passes which should not be used for private purpose. They are using these passes for private purpose. They are not paying the duty, and Indian travelers and merchants who are doing the trade, they are not having these advantages. This is not fair, and I will not keep on overlooking this fact. So on this particular issue, Mir Qasim and EIC, they came at loggerheads. So this is a point which will lead to further escalation of things which we will talk about. He shifted the capital from Murshidabad to Munger. This part you have to remember, this is the old way of writing Munger, and this happened, and this is an important point from pre-perspective. They can ask you in different ways. First, who shifted the capital from Murshidabad to Munger? Second point is shifting of capital of this Bengal region from Murshidabad to Munger happened, or Mir Qasim shifted the capital from Murshidabad to which particular place? They can ask you this as well. So you have to be ready for all kind of questions which can be asked here. And why? Because again, he wanted to go a little far from wherever all these intrigues and all these games are being played. Completely he overhauled the bureaucracy by man of his choice and sought to improve the finances, blah, blah, blah. All these things he's doing. He's trying to, revitalize his army, revitalize his bureaucracy. He's trying to distance himself from the EIC some way or the other. Sought to modernize his army along European lines. You can have a look at this. Please remember, the most important part in this particular slide is this Munger thing. And currently you write it like this, Munger. This was the old name. Fine, sir. Mir Qasim, 1760 to 1763. And we are talking about him. He is the son-in-law of Mir Zafar. The misuse of companies dastak. This is the point which we are talking about, or which we were talking about just few seconds earlier, that this point will again escalate. Now, sometimes what happens, and I was reading a book, I keep on telling you this, that I completed that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Sometimes I'm angry, or let's say my better half or anybody is angry, and we are fighting with each other, and then later we realize that this fight has nothing to do with us. Some of our past traumas came to the fore. Generally what happens when you are in a loving relationship, then you start having those, because then you start feeling confident, and then your past traumas come to the surface based on that particular book, which is exactly correct. So here also these issues, they are coming to the fore because there are certain unresolved issues between EIC and the Nawab of Bengal, which has not been rectified yet. So these issues are coming to the fore, although the difference here is it's not a loving relationship, it's a very distrustful relationship between EIC and Mir Qasim. So misuse of companies dastak for private trade, and Mir Qasim was not liking it, and there were different reasons. Too much interference, all these things has also made him little bit jittery. So misuse of company's dastak for private trade was perpetual cause of tension between the English company and the Nawabs. The company's servants were not paying any duty on their goods, whereas the local merchants had to pay duty. And again, there were different scenarios also. There were so many things. These company officials, they were also exercising pressure on the local people. They were getting goods at a concessional rates. All these things they were doing. They were doing so many bad things, and Mir Qasim was like, dude, I cannot tolerate it now. This is, the water is going above my head now. So yeah, so Nawab lost tax revenue, the local merchants faced unequal competition. Further, the company's servant even sold dastak to Indian merchants for a commission. All these things are happening, and Mir Qasim is like, dude, I have to do something. I am like Nawab of Bengal, yaar. I am paying EIC whatever they are asking from me. Even then, all these things are happening, and they're not listening to whatever I'm saying. And then he will talk with EIC, he will have a stern talk. EIC will agree, okay, we will not do these things, and you give us some trading rights and all those. And Mir Qasim was like, I will give you more trading rights in different areas. Please stop doing all these things. EIC said, yes, we will stop doing all these things. We will not take unfair advantage of this dastak system. But then many of these EIC officials later on decided that, dude, we have to do this. Like, we have to take the unfair advantage of this dastak system. Now we have to get rid of Mir Qasim. And then a battle happened. A fight happened near Patna, and Mir Qasim fled, and he went to Awadh, and then he made Awadh ruler. And then there was another Mughal king who was there, Shah Alam II. We have talked about him, and hope you remember him. If you don't remember him, we'll talk about him more. So Mir Qasim, 1760 to 63. Now, what is happening here? The company's servant even used coercive methods to get things out. We are talking about this. These servants, because they are realizing that EIC is becoming powerful, like with each passing day, so they are getting more and more complacent, and Mir Qasim is not liking this. They ignored the officials of Nawab and forcibly took away the good and commodities of peasants and merchants for a fourth part of their value. That's what we were discussing. So it's not only confined to dastak system, things have gone way out of hand as far as controlling these EIC officials are concerned. They also use violence and oppression to force the peasant into buying goods at prices many times higher than their current value or their original value. And that's why Mir Qasim is like this. That, dude, enough is enough. You people have to stop now. Mir Qasim, 1760 to 63. And before him was Mir Zafar. So we are seeing fights are going on, different kind of friction is there between Mir Qasim and English EIC. So in such conditions, Mir Qasim, again, we have seen how English East India Company EIC officials, they are taking undue advantage of everything which is happening, dastak system. It's not only confined to dastak or the passes rather. So in such condition, Mir Qasim did not seek independence from the British. He did seek to limit the fast expanding encroachments of the English on his jurisdiction. And he was trying to impose the fact that, sir, I am the Nawab. I am doing most of the things which you want me to do. So please let me act as a Nawab. That will help you only in the long run. You will be able to gain the material advantage which you want to gain, and I'll be able to rule in the manner I want to rule. Please allow me to do that. After he appealed to British, a compromise was made. Britishers were like, okay, let's hear him out. Nawab would give English traders a share in the inland trade, provided they paid 9% duty. You can do this inland trade. And in return, you will not misuse the dastak system. It was also agreed that Nawab alone would be competent to grant dastak and his authority would be ultimate. So they said this on his face, but they did something behind his back, and they were like, dude, we have told him these things, but now this guy is becoming over smart. We don't want such over smart people. We don't want such people who will, ask questions and who will put questions over our authority. That is not done. So we have to do something about him. Unfortunately, this agreement, that's what we are discussing, and they are behind their back. They were like, dude, remove this guy. We can no longer trust him. So unfortunately, the agreement was disapproved by Calcutta Council, as most of the council members themselves participated in inland trade. They were like, dude, we have told him all these things, but how can we tell him that we are the guys who are actually doing these things, and you are coming to us only to resolve that particular matter? That's actually a laughable thing to do. Why would we want to do something which would harm us? So we are not doing that. Instead, we will remove you. And they rather favored the deposition of Mir Qasim, which would provide them with yet another opportunity for receiving bribes. So this will happen. A small kind of a war or fight will happen in near Patna town in Bihar. And then Mir Qasim will be like, dude, he felt like he cannot do things on his own. He needed help from some other people. Out of desperation, Mir Qasim abolished all inland duties to bring the Indian merchants on the same footing. You can say that this is one of the last thing which he's trying to do, because he's trying to assert his authority, provoking hostility by an attack on Patna town. And after that, what will happen? A war between Nawab and English will broke out in 1763, and he will be going to Awadh. Subsequently, he fled to Awadh and formed an alliance with Sujauddaulah, Nawab of Awadh, and Shah Alam II. This is a question mark. Why question mark? Because again, I want to ask, do you remember about Shah Alam II? Who was Shah Alam II? Was he the same guy who was also the 17th and 19th Mughal ruler? Plus, there is another question, and that question is, how many Mughal rulers were there in total? What we have discussed up until now, like when we're talking about later Mughal rulers, we have talked about the total number of Mughal rulers. How many total Mughal rulers were there? So, yes, sir. Now, we are doing a recap kind of a thing, because there will be another actor who will be entering into this particular topic, Awadh. We have to know about Awadh. Why this guy fled to Awadh? What was his reason or rationale to do that? Because in Awadh, you will have a dynasty which was formed around 1722 in the period of another later Mughal ruler whose name was Rangila, because he was a fan of Amir Khan's Rangila movie. Rangila re, tere man mein. There was a song in our time, like when Devanand used to, I don't know. So yes, sir, Lata Mangeshkar and all those ma'ams, focus here. What we are trying to say is, in 1772, in Awadh, there will be a dynasty which will be formed. In 1754, Hyderabad, there will be a dynasty which will be formed. All these things are happening during the period of a guy, his name is Muhammad Shah, 1719 to 1748. He's also known as Rangila. And because people are fed up of his Rangila activities, or, his different vices, people will be, the people who, who still have some power, authority left, they'll be forming their own regional powers. And they are, as we have discussed, three kinds of, again, you can go back to later Mughal rulers and successor states. We have seen there are three types of states: successor, new, and independent. In those successor states, Hyderabad and Awadh, we have to talk about, who were formed during the reign of Muhammad Shah between 1719 and 1748. Hyderabad, if I'm not wrong, 1724, and Awadh 1722. And we are now talking about Awadh, because we have to know what is happening. The center is now shifting from Bengal to Awadh for the time being. The Suba of Awadh was strategically placed. If you see this particular region, it's very close to Delhi as well. Economic prosperity, it is there in the Gangetic Plain. Trade is happening as well. And Gangetic Plain, I think we have discussed it, I think 1,000 or more than that. That's an exaggeration, but hope you're understanding what we are discussing, that this particular area is one of the richest, or one of the most fertile areas, not only in India, but if you talk about world in general. So all these reasons are there why this particular Awadh dynasty or the kingdom was doing very well. And this was a Shia dynasty which will be ruling over Awadh. They will do a lot of things. And this particular dynasty, there is a king for whom it was said that jisko, there is a saying which goes in English something like this: even if God is not giving you, this particular king will give you. So we'll talk about that. Bada Imam Bada, that mosque has been made. And again, Awadh. And Awadh we'll talk later on also, when we'll talk about 1857 revolt. This particular dynasty only, they are ruling, and how on the pretext of misgovernance, Britishers will annex this particular territory. And that also played a very big role in 1857 revolt. We are not saying it, NCERT class 12 is saying it. We'll see that particular chapter when we'll go to 1857 revolt. Fine, sir. So rise of Awadh was the result of political pursuit by Burhanul Mulk. So these are titles. Like if you go back and if you revise, later Mughal rulers, you will realize that these are like, there are different titles. One is Nizamul Mulk for Hyderabad ruler. And then this is Burhanul Mulk. And these are like, like you are the biggest or most powerful in the world. And these these are the meanings of these titles in general. They're just saying that we acknowledge your bravery, we acknowledge your loyalty and all those things, and that's why we're giving you these titles. So Shadat Khan, he was the governor of Awadh during the period of Muhammad Shah Rangila. And this guy is very important, and that's why this particular lecture is also important from pre-perspective, because revision will happen. They can ask you that Nadir Shah invaded during the reign of which particular later Mughal ruler. Nadir Shah invasion happened, and that battle is known as what? So many things will be revised. And even they can ask you Awadh was formed during the reign of which later Mughal ruler. Most of the answers of these questions are the one and the same. Fine. So Burhanul Mulk was the title given by Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah. And Burhanul Mulk, and they can, again, there is another question which can be asked. They can give you these titles, Burhanul Mulk, Nizamul Mulk, they can give the name, Shadat Khan and others, and you have to match them. So that is also important. So in order to consolidate his base in Awadh, what he did was he tried to ensure that after him, his successors are ruling. So his nephew and son-in-law. So here nephew means like Saadat Khan was the mama of Safdar and Safdar was also son-in-law of Saadat Khan, because you know these things happen. Marriages between close relatives happen in Islam, and that's what happened here. So he appointed and he ensured that Safdar was the deputy governor, so that when he is gone, Safdar becomes the governor and a dynastic succession is ensured in Awadh. Fine, sir and ma'am. So now let's recap. What we have to recap? We have to remember, and because these guys are important. See, if there are certain rulers like Shah Alam II, Muhammad Shah, if they're coming again and again, that means they are important because they are involved in multiple events which was going around during that particular period. So Muhammad Shah 1719 to 1748, and we have talked about all these things. This is a slide which I have taken from later Mughal rulers. He was like, during his period, still some amount of prestige of Mughals was there, but you will see that by the end of his reign, that prestige will be gone. So many things are happening because Awadh will be forming their own kingdom, or, you know, own dynasty will start there, Hyderabad, their own, and 1739, Battle of Karnal will happen. From 1748 onwards, Ahmad Shah will start singing song, Mujhe to teri lat lag gayi. That means he is infatuated by the wealth and by the country that is India. He will attack 8 times between 1748 and 67. We have talked about these things multiple times now. So that's what is written here. You have to revise Muhammad Shah. You have to revise Shah Alam II, and that's how you know out of all these later Mughal rulers, which rulers are more important than the others, you know. So we are again talking about the same thing, that because of his all, you know, vices and Rangila nature, so many people got little detached to him and formed their own regional kingdoms. Rangila. Back to the present now. So this is like recap. So here we have talked about Mama and all those stuff that, you know, Saadat Khan, how he ensured that Safdar is becoming his successor. In this way, he made the province a hereditary means possession. Here we're talking about Saadat Khan. In 1723, he introduced a new land revenue system. So everything is going very hunky-dory in Awadh. And that's why many people felt, and when we'll talk about 1857 revolt, you will feel like that, you know, when Britishers conquered Awadh on the pretext of misgovernance, and Dalhousie did that, so they felt like, you know, people are fed up of Awadh kingdom. But the amount of reaction, the amount of sadness which was there in the Awadh region because of all the things which Britishers were doing, that played a crucial role in igniting 1857 revolt, according to class 12th, new rationalized NCERT. We'll talk about that later on as well. After Saadat Khan, Safdar was made the governor. Saadat Khan was the mama as well as father-in-law of Safdar. After Safdar, Sujaud-Daula, and this is the guy who will be involved in Battle of Buxar. And that's why we went like this. When, you know, Awadh story entered into the Bengal story, we went to Awadh and we are reading about Awadh. And when we went into the Awadh story, we have to go back and read about later Mughal also, because things are connected that way. During his reign, Battle of Buxar was fought. Sassur we are talking about. And that is, this meme is about, you know, Safdar and Saadat Khan. Fine. So after Sujaud-Daula dead, Asafud-Daula, he came and he made this Bada Imam Bada, and it is about him only. It is said that Jisko na de Maula, usko de Asafud-Daula. That means even if God is not giving you, you will be given things by Asafud-Daula. He was that generous in nature. So Asafud-Daula, he made Bada Imam Bada. This is a Shia dynasty. And he transferred the capital from Faizabad to Lucknow. So this guy is important. Most important fact is Bada Imam Bada, where it is located, which ruler made it, about whom we call this particular thing, or this particular quotation is associated with which particular, you know, regional dynasty and vagera vagera. And like, hope you're understanding what we're discussing here. So please remember these names, and it's not like you have to remember all the names. Just remember Sujaud-Daula is important, and then Asafud-Daula is important, and then who is Burhanul Mulk, who is Nizamul Mulk. These points are important. Awadh was finally annexed by British in the year 1856 on the pretext of misgovernance. At that time, you know, Dalhousie was like doctrine of lapse. He wanted to implement here, there and everywhere. But Awadh kings, they have produced a lot of kids. Wajid Ali Shah was his name. Awadh ruler. His name was Wajid Ali Shah. So that doctrine of lapse thing was not applicable in Awadh. Then the only major reason which, you know, remained was misgovernance, and they used that particular reason. Fine, sir. Bada Imam Bada. Battle of Buxar, it is said that it was a war of circumstances rather than intention. 22nd October 1764. What is the immediate cause? Misuse of dastak. That is what has been written here. And three allies. Who are these three allies? You have Bengal, you have Awadh, you have Mughal King Shah Alam II. So we'll go back and we'll read about Shah Alam II as well. Three allies faced the company's army at battlefield of Buxar. Now, Hector Munro. Generally what happens? People, and this is again a important and a tricky point. Battle of Plassey, you have Lord Clive, Robert Clive. Battle of Buxar, many people go with the flow and they take Robert Clive only. Robert Clive is not the commander now. Hector Munro is the commander. And here also you will see the size of English forces is comparatively lesser, but they have better artillery, they have better cavalry, and they will take full advantage of that, and they will defeat this combined army of three allies. And it is said that Battle of Plassey, many people believe Battle of Plassey may have been a fluke, You won once, so what? But Battle of Buxar, that ensured that, okay, EIC is not going anywhere. They are a power which will be going to be a, major, not only commercial power, major political power in years to come. And that's what exactly happened. So Battle of Buxar is like, there are so many history optional questions based on this, that Battle of Buxar proved what Battle of Plassey hinted about, that Britishers are here to stay. And that's what exactly happened. Battle of Buxar, a war of circumstances rather than intention. We are talking about all these things. Closely contested battle, and Britishers won. Doesn't matter you are losing by 2 runs or 20 runs. Loss is a loss, and in this scenario, the three allies, they lost. Awadh was placed at their mercy. Buxar sealed the fate of Bengal, blah, blah, blah. You can have a look at all these things. And then what will happen? So many. Now, here, there is something known as Treaty of Allahabad. You have to revise stuff because this is like prelims crash course. So mains is fine. You can use these points in mains also. But mains you will write when you clear pre. So you have to again rewind. Treaty of Alinagar. When have we studied about it? If you know it, post it in the comment section. Here, Treaty of Allahabad is there. So, and we'll see there are 2 treaties of Allahabad. One will be done with, Sujaud-Dawla, Awadh ruler, and second will be done with Shah Alam II. How it happens, we'll talk about this. So Mir Zafar was brought back to the throne, asked to hand over the district. So again, you can see here, Mir Zafar was initially there, then he was replaced by son-in-law Mir Qasim, and now when son-in-law Mir Qasim did not work according to the whims and fancies of Britishers, Mir Zafar will again come back. Asked to hand over the districts of this, you can read it. And permitted EIC duty-free land. He and his successors had to pay 5 lakh per month. Dude, 5 lakh per month today also is a very big amount. And at that time, they were paying this much amount to English company. So he will die very early because he will not be able to, he will be there for 2 more years, 1763 to 65. And then he will die, then his son will come, and we'll see what will happen. So Mir Zafar died shortly thereafter, and his minor son. See, we have seen during his, like before when we're talking about that Mir Zafar, one son died, but in between he produced some more sons, and these guys, they were not lagging behind him producing sons. And the minor son, Nizamud-Dawla, was appointed as Nawab. And during this period, we'll see dual government will come into picture, which will nothing be more than a facade. How it was a facade, we have to talk about that as well. So Clive was appointed as governor and commander-in-chief of Bengal. Clive's second governorship, 1757 to 60 was the first, and this is the second one. And what he will do so many things. He will ensure that, these Treaty of Allahabad, they are done in a proper manner, and there is a method to his madness. We have to understand that method. First and foremost, he took up the task of defining relations with the defeated powers. So what is he doing here? Consequences of Battle of Buxar. Settlement with Nawab of Awadh. First Treaty of Allahabad with Nawab of Awadh. He will take some areas like Allahabad and Kora, and he will ensure that, in these areas, Shah Alam is staying. Because if you go back and again revise Shah Alam II thing, he did not want to go to Delhi. He was terrified of Afghani people. And later on, there will be an Afghani guy called Ghulam Qadir. He will make him blind and all those stuff will happen. So hope you have, again, you can go and revise it. So he was like this particular Robert Clive. He wanted to ensure that there was some place where Shah Alam is staying. And why he's so, enthusiastic or sympathetic towards Shah Alam. These EIC guys, they are not sympathetic towards any person per se. They are just sympathetic towards their own causes. They want something from Shah Alam, and because of which they are doing something, good for, you can say, if you can use that word, for Shah Alam. We'll see that. So Nawab was made to enter an offensive and defensive treaty, which is similar to subsidiary alliance. We'll have a talk on this. Many people believe, that from 1798 onwards, Britishers were the one who introduced the subsidiary alliance concept. But as we have discussed earlier, French journal Duplex, he is supposed to be the person who played a crucial role in the emergence of this particular system which is known as subsidiary alliance. We'll talk about this. So in this way, Nawab Awadh became dependent on the company because they put certain amount of their forces in Awadh. So Awadh powers were curtailed to a certain extent. And then second Treaty of Allahabad will happen. For your purpose, from exam purpose, just remember Treaty of Allahabad happened after Battle of Buxar. Treaty of Ali Nagar was a treaty which happened before Battle of Palasi, where Sirajuddaulah was forced to do a lot of things, So second Treaty of Allahabad, what is happening here? Here, if you again go back, Diwani Nizamat, there are different terms which we have to understand. So, administrative function, revenue function. If you again go back to the previous lecture where we have started Bengal, there were two things, civil administration and then economic or revenue administration. There were two different functions, but in 1717, Farooq Sayar made Murshid Quli Khan, gave him both the functions, and then he became very powerful and he formed his own dynasty. Similar kind of things you will see here, not exactly similar, but you will see the revenue function that will be taken upon by EIC. The administrative function will be taken upon by the Nawab of Bengal, but just in name. In reality, both these powers will be with EIC. How so? We'll see that. So in return, Emperor issued a farman. So Shah Alam II has been given a place where he can stay away from the Afghani people. He is safe for the time being. And in return, again, there is something known as quid pro quo. If I'm doing something for you, in return, you also have to do something for me. So quid pro quo, Shah Alam II issued a farman dated, you can see the date, granting the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. So trading rights and all the money, all the revenue will be coming to EIC now. But they have to pay 26 lakh rupees to Shah Alam II. And the expenses of Nizamat. Nizamat means civil administration. Cost, you incur some cost when you are appointing some officials to look after the administration, DM, etc., which you call them now. For that also there was certain amount which they have to pay. 53 lakhs for maintaining the Nizamat and 26 lakhs to Shah Alam so that he can maintain his empire. All these things. In this way, the Farman legalized the company's gain in Bengal. So company has gained the Nizamat function. And we have to see these two terms. Like company has gained rather than Diwani function. Nizamat function is with the Nawab of Bengal. But again, just in name. So again, if we do the recap thing, this is from the first part, the previous lecture which we have discussed, Nizamati and Diwani. So Nizamati is about civil administration, Diwani is about the revenue administration. Now, according to second Treaty of Allahabad, EIC has got the Diwani. EIC has got the Diwani. The Nizamati function is with Nawab of Bengal. But as you will see later on, that will also be taken upon by, EIC guys indirectly. So this dual government was just a facade, just an outer exterior shown to people, and internally something else was going on. So again, this is about Shah Alam II, and this is these are some of the slides which we have taken from later Mughal rulers. So you can go back and you can revise that particular lecture, what happened to him and how did not go to Delhi for 12 years at that time, or during a certain portion of that time he was there in, which region he was there in, Allahabad, Kora region, and then he was reinstated in Delhi by Marathas. Ghulam Qadir occupied and blinded Shah Alam II. The thing which he feared the most, that actually happened to him. And that's why we keep on telling that if you, say negative things about yourself, something negative will happen to you. If you say positive things about yourself, you will attract positive things, affirmations. And that's why you have to say 5 things every day. I am the best, I can do it. God is always with me. Today is my day. I am a winner. So again, these are the slides which we have discussed earlier. I am not reading it, just so that you can remember all the stuff. And later on, he will become a pensioner. He was defeated in Battle of Buxar, and then after him will come Akbar II, who will want to increase the pension. He will send Raja Ram Mohan Roy, but that will not happen. So all these things we have discussed. Now let's come back to the present. Settlement with Nawab of Bengal. So Nizamat and Diwani. Diwani is with EIC now after second Treaty of Allahabad. Nizamat is with Nawab of Bengal officially. But let's see how that Nizamat will also be taken away from Nawab of Bengal. So Nawab would surrender defense and foreign affairs, both for Nizamat function, into the hands of company, and civil administration into hands of Nayab Subedar nominated by the company. So even the Nizamat function, all in all, function is with the company. But they are showing to other people that no, we are not doing the ruling part. Ruling is done by Nawab of Bengal only. Going by this strategy, as you can understand here, company gained Diwani from Shah Alam II, Nizamat from Nawab of Bengal. And that's why Nawab of Bengal, the minor son, is saying that you are doing a cheating, bro. This is not done. In this way, the infamous dual system was dual only in theory. And all these things will lead to what? Super, exploitation of Bengal resources, which was one of the richest province in South Asia at that particular point of time, and that will lead to 1770 Bengal famine, in which almost 1/3 of Bengal's population would be wiped out. So these are some points which you have to keep in mind. Dual system, here we are discussing the dual system, what it is. Nizam-ud-Dawla was allowed to succeed as Nawab of Bengal only on the condition that he surrendered the Nizamat function. So that's why we are saying that Diwani, they took it from Bengal, like Shah Alam II, and Nizamat, they took it from Nizam-ud-Dawla or Nizam-ud-Dawla, and that's why this dual system is a sham or a scam or a facade, whatever word you want to use. Thus, in practice, dual system referred to the system whereby the company acquired all the real power while the responsibility of administration rested on the shoulders of Nawab. He does not have money. He is dependent on money these are the guys who will be giving him money if they do give him money. How will he rule? Because actually he is not ruling. Those people Subedar and all those guys, they are also nominated by the company only, who's taking care of the Nizamat function. And that's why, in a way, they are not taking any responsibility, they are taking all the money. EIC here we are talking about, because when it will come to you are not ruling properly, you are not taking care of the Nizamat properly or civil administration properly, they will say that no, that is the responsibility of, Nawab of Bengal. It is not our responsibility, it is the responsibility of Nizam-ud-Dawla. So that's what we are discussing here. This had adverse consequences for people of Bengal, as neither company nor Nawab cared for their welfare. Nawab, first of all, has to care for himself. In the words of Clive himself, Robert Clive himself admitted that, dude, whatever we did was, plundering of the highest level. Such a state of confusion, bribery, corruption and extortion was never seen or heard of in any place but Bengal. And all these things will lead to a terrible Bengal famine of 1770, in which almost 1/3 of the population of Bengal will be wiped out. Fine, sir and ma'am. So all these things we are discussing, what will happen because of this diarchy or double system of governance. And this will, will be the start of something known as drain of wealth from India, economic exploitation of India, about which we'll talk later on. I think in the next lecture, we'll talk about Marathas, and we have to talk about them. We have still not talked about them. So there are so many things which we have to discuss. So again, this battle of Buxar, Palasi made them a powerful factor in Bengal politics. Buxar made them a powerful factor in the politics of North India. They defeated not one, not two, but 3 Pas: Bengal, Awadh and Mughal. So that is actually now they are fighting for the Indian Empire. They are not regional in nature anymore. So that's it for this particular lecture. If you want me to share, and I am sharing, I have shared till lecture 25 in this Telegram group. You can join this group if you have not joined up until now. Fun study with Shubh, because study should be fun. So I will meet you in the next lecture. Till then, take care, be blessed, tata, bye.